The Olympic Games are officially coming up soon, and I guarantee you, it is going to be a track and field showcase where the fastest men in the world go out and prove themselves. But if you are watching the Olympic trials, then you should probably know by now that Quincy Wilson is one of those men. The only problem is, he's not even considered a man yet, legally in America. He is still 16 years old. It was already a big surprise that a boy his age had actually qualified for the trials to begin with. But then he went out in his first race and broke the 45-second barrier in the 400. But then he did it again in the semifinals, and did it again in the final. He didn't actually win the final, and he didn't even go top 3. But he did finish in the top 6, which put him in the relay pool for the Olympics. Because we have the 4x4 and now the mixed relay, you are going to see Quincy Wilson on the track in Paris this summer. To be real with you, I never expected that I would be making this video because Quincy Wilson is in the class of 2026 as a high school recruit. And I'm the guy who does the high school national recruit rankings for the best athletes in the nation, regardless of their event. When the high school season starts, I don't pay that much attention to the freshmen and the sophomores because even if you're the best in your class, you're normally not going to be the best if we just put you up with the juniors and seniors. The college coaches ain't looking for you either because they need to recruit the kids who are gonna be on campus soon. That wasn't Quincy Wilson. But then something crazy happened. Before the high school season ended, he started running times that were faster than anybody in high school was running, regardless of their age. And by the time he got to the trials, it was clear that he was the best quarter miler in the nation, and his class no longer was relevant. But I have to admit that he didn't just shock the world. He shocked me when he made the finals in the 400, especially the way that he did it, and now earned a spot on the relay pool. That makes him the youngest American man to qualify for the Olympics in track and field. But it also does something else. It makes it very clear to me now that Quincy Wilson is not normal. He ain't like the rest of the kids in his class, and he ain't like the rest of them in high school either. So now that I am very well aware that he is in a class all by himself, it's time that I start treating him like it. So from this point on in Quincy Wilson's career, I'm gonna treat him like the prodigy. For that matter, the soon-to-be professional that I think he's about to become. And that is the real conversation. Because now that Quincy Wilson has made the Olympic team, he's gonna have a whole bunch of decisions to make when this is all done, regardless of whether he gets a medal in Paris this summer. Because he is not the first track and field phenom to burst onto the scene at the USAs. Because the Olympic trials, I have to point this out, is only coming around once every 4 years. So if you happen to be born in the wrong year on the calendar, it's really hard to make it while you're still in high school. But that's also why it was a bigger deal why he was there, because he was 16 when he did it. And normally, somebody like him shouldn't show up till he's 20. The only track and field athletes who really know what he's going through are the same types of phenoms who flash this level of talent. The only athletes in recent memory to do anything like this were Matthew Boling, Michael Norman, Noah Lyles, and Erriyon Knighton himself. And each of them represents a different path that Quincy Wilson can choose going forward. It doesn't matter which one he chooses, each of them have their challenges. I am not here to say which one of those is the best one for him. But what I am saying is that if we look closely at what their careers were, we can figure out what might happen when Quincy Wilson actually does go forward. And even though he is not a hurdler, he will have some new hurdles to overcome. Because all those 4 men share one thing in common, that none of them have an individual gold medal at the Olympics to their name as of now. Of course, that might change in Paris this summer, but it does tell us how hard professional track and field actually is, because that is the world that Quincy Wilson is clearly destined for right now. And when you have the type of talent that he does, the only way to be successful in the future is to win an Olympic gold medal individually when the entire world is watching, which is why it's an incredibly big deal that he's heading to Paris right now. And he's already a high school student anyway, so he'd better be taking some really good notes this summer on what it will require for him to come back and take the crown in the future. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best high school track and field recruits in the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section because I try to read them all. Before I go any further, I do feel the need to point out at least one major problem that Quincy Wilson is at the very least going to have to deal with whenever he chooses to go pro. Because at this very moment, Quincy Wilson is an incredibly talented 400-meter runner. He's actually so talented that it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me on the clock. Because in the 400-meter dash, he was able to break 45 seconds. But to this point, he doesn't have a 200-meter dash on record that's faster than 21 seconds. In track and field, if you really want to be the greatest of the great, especially in the eyes of a casual track fan, I'm sorry to tell you, you're going to have to figure out how to run the short sprints, specifically the 100-meter dash. There are 16-year-old boys in high school right now who can beat Quincy Wilson in the 100 and definitely keep up with him in a 200. But nobody in high school of any age appears to be able to run a 400. Not just right now, but in history with him. So to be real with you, he's going to have to pick up another event going forward. Maybe it's the 400 and the 200 so he can beat the next Michael Johnson. Or maybe he chooses the harder route and tries to go all the way down to the 100. Because that is clearly how you earn the big money in track and field. Matthew Boling knows this problem all too well because he was a high school phenom who basically ran the perfect high school senior season, dominating the state of Texas in every other race that he entered. Unlike everyone else I'm going to mention, he chose to go to college and to compete essentially for an entire career. He only turned pro after that. And in the eyes of most fans, Matthew Boling underachieved. He did win 2 individual NCAA championships, but that was indoors in the 200-meter dash both times. Outdoors, he never won a national title, which is what people care about anyway. And after he turned pro, he shifted up to the 400-meter dash almost exclusively. And ironically, he was at the Olympic trials competing in the 400 against Quincy Wilson, and he lost in the final race. So Quincy Wilson could choose to run in college and stay there. But if he does, he will be expected to win a whole bunch of national titles and likely break a collegiate record while he's there, because that is how greatness is judged at that level. But Michael Norman also ran in college after becoming the Gatorade National Track and Field Athlete of the Year twice. He did that at USC, and his freshman year didn't quite go according to plan, but he did make the NCAA championship final outdoors in the 400. Then as a sophomore, he broke collegiate records indoors and outdoors in the 400 and won the national championship in both. He turned pro immediately thereafter that and never really looked back. He underachieved at different points, but he's still a world champion, and he's heading back to the Olympics in Paris with eyes on coming away with the gold. So the Michael Norman plan is simple. Go to college and prove that you're the best that ever did it at that level, then leave and turn pro after it. Yet Noah Lyles was a phenom at just about the same time as Michael Norman. He was at the Olympic trials while he was in high school, but he was a senior, so it's a little bit different. And he didn't choose to run in college after he had already committed to the University of Florida. When he turned pro, he never looked back, dominating on the Diamond League almost immediately. He's won more Diamond League championships than I can even pay attention to. And beyond that, we know what he's doing on the world stage. So this Olympics is his opportunity to prove it when the rest of the world is watching. Not just the track fans, but all of the sports fans. So if you follow that model, you continue dominating in high school, but then turn pro after it. Just don't look back once you do, because the Diamond League will pay you just about the biggest amount of money they can for you to show up, as long as you keep putting out big-time performances. Yet Erriyon Knighton is a little bit different from everybody else I mentioned, because he didn't even finish his high school career as a sprinter. He turned pro right in the middle of it. And up until Quincy Wilson, he was the youngest American man to qualify for the Olympics in track and field. But he didn't just show up to the Olympics. He made the 200-meter dash final and got 4th while he was there. He's been pretty dominant as a pro up until now, but he also doesn't have individual gold medals on the world stage yet. And a lot of that is because he also has to go through Noah Lyles in order to get them. He also only really competes in one event, and has never been taken seriously in the 4x1 relay pool for Team USA up until now. And although he got third at the Olympic trials all the way back in 2021, he finished in the exact same position again at the trials in 2024. So now that Quincy Wilson has become the news story, Erriyon Knighton is clearly the old one, because nobody's really checking for him as a special talent anymore. He's just an amazing talent, an amazing professional talent that we're waiting to see if he'll ever break through and come away with world-level gold. What I'm trying to say is that Erriyon Knighton is not a phenom anymore. He is just a pro, who's expected to perform as such. If Quincy Wilson chooses that path, he's going to have to become a pro overnight. In high school, you really don't have to run fast all the time when you're as talented as him. And you don't even really have to do it in college either. At least not till you get to the biggest meets. But in the pro level, you don't have a choice anymore. Either you go fast or you go home. Because to be real with you, if you're not first, you're last anyway, in the eyes of most fans. So congratulations to Quincy Wilson on all his amazing performances this season. And I'm looking forward to watching him on the relays in Paris this summer. But beyond that, he still has some decisions to make, because the only way to succeed in track and field is to win medals while you do it. Quincy Wilson said himself that he's been winning national championships for as long as he can remember, and he'll probably win a whole bunch more if he just chooses to run with the kids his age. But clearly he has the talent to run with the men right now. But if that is the route that he chooses, then every single man on the list that I just gave will be there to compete against him at the pro level. And guess what? They are all still chasing the same thing that he's going to have to win, an Olympic gold medal when the entire world is watching. SCA track and field gear is here. Fast is a lifestyle, and what you wear should reflect that. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.